forward, follow me. If I hesitate, push me. If they may kill me, avenge me. If I am a traitor, kill me.
Gangsters, cops, and politicians, get ready to rock. We're on a mission. Each one of us shares our own vision. When I was on the yard, I went real hard. While I patrolled the streets, all the G's on me. When I was on the yard, I went real hard. While I patrolled the streets, all the G's on me.
Saludos. It's your host, Gabe Morales. I hope you all had a Merry Christmas and got everything you wished for, and that you were able to spend some good time with your families. So, we're going to talk about the C last names. And when I was looking at my list, man, I have like over 150 guys with C last names that were significant in the NF or Northern Structure. As you can imagine, if I was going to spend 5 minutes per each individual, I'd be going way into next month just on the C last names. So I'm going to whiz past some of them. And if you want to know more details, hit me up in the comment section. But I will talk a little bit about some of the more notable ones, especially if I have pictures of them. So here we go. Let's get cruising. First off, I'm going to mention Oscar Cabrera Amezcua, also known as Baby Joker, also known as BJ. And I believe he also had a code name of Caco, K-A-C-O. But he is out of Watson and was a very active individual in the Watson area. And I believe he had many family members that were also involved in gang activity. But Oscar's criminal history dates back to his youth when he was convicted of a drug charge in 1992 and then was convicted of armed robbery before he was even 18 years old. He was later convicted for another armed robbery and assault in 1995, all of which were gang-related. And he became a very active member of the Nuestra Raza and validated as such by CDC in 1996. Baby Joker got a J number 87289 on that robbery charge in 95. He paroled in 98 and then returned to custody on several parole violations. And within a few years, he was known as being a Nuestra Familia associate. However, he was not validated as NF by CDC yet. I show that he was in North Kern State Prison in 2011 to 2012, and then I believe took off. And it was found out that he was hiding out down in Mexico. He was finally arrested, and in 2016, I believe he was in Arizona for a minute. In 2017, he was sentenced to life in prison without parole for the shooting death of a man way back in March of 2006, before he took off. I show that he was at Tehachapi in 2020 and Corcoran in 2022. He ended up backing up the federal faction along with Matt Rocha, and at that time, the state guys were pretty much running things, and the federal faction was in the minority. And they were not able to seize control of the overall governing body. And both Rocha and Cabrera then were high targets for the state NF. And I show that Oscar Cabrera is currently housed at CCI Tehachapi under his new CDC number of A as in Alpha, I as in Indio, 0560. There's Santiago Payaso Cardenas out of Salas. I show he caught a robbery beef in 1985, whereby he was assigned D number 6018. Showed he paroled in 1987, got popped for assault with a deadly weapon in 99. He paroled in 90, had several parole violations, and I show that he got caught with a shank at Pelican Bay State Prison in the early 90s. I understand that he was actually ordered by the NF to hit Miquel Castillo, but my understanding is he refused, and that hit was later carried out by Rico Smiley Garcia. And I'm sure I also got in a lot of trouble for refusing that order. There's Richard Cagadas, yes. In serio, his real name is Richard Abel. I've seen C files with this guy's name on it. He's out of Stockton and had a C number 74164. Showed that he was NF by the mid-1980s, but was not validated until 1989. He was involved in the murder of a female named Andorra Russo, who had witnessed an NF murder, and she was killed on July 24th, 1990. I understand that Cagadas was housed at DVI in 1996 and was involved in peace treaty talks with the MA, which at that time was a no-no. I showed he was at Pleasant Valley State Prison in 2012 and is currently housed at Kern Valley State Prison. There's Sean Bubbles Camaron out of Kings County. He was a very active drug dealer and caught K number 58156 after a dope arrest in 1997. He was validated as Northern Structure by 2001 and paroled in 2009. I heard at one time he was put in charge of the streets for the state faction, a really good connection to the Sinaloa cartel, and was popped on Operation Tapout in 2010. I believe he was housed at the Fresno County Jail in 2012 to 2013 while he was fighting the case and was convicted in 2014. He was then sent to the feds under BOP number 65048-097. And he toured several facilities in the BOP and is currently housed at the ADX. He is not scheduled for release until the year 2037. There is Anthony Snoopy Campa out of San Francisco E-Mall. I showed that he was in the Copas Gallegos car in the late 90s and had E number 74592. I'm not sure what happened to him, but I believe John Boxer Mendoza, who's from the Mission District, mentions him in his book. There was Charles Campa, who was popped on Operation Black Widow. Understand that he was on the Black Steve's Raiders team. And Charlie Brown Campa was known to be a big meth dealer out of San Juan. I believe during the time period that Flaco, from a convict's perspective, was helping to run Salas, even though he's from Milpitas, which I understand is considered part of the San Jose area, was helping to run Salas at that time. Charlie Brown Campa was considered a regimental street commander in 2004, and I heard reported directly to Pinky Hernandez under BOP number 25105-112. He was released from the BOP on that number in early 2005. I understand he was indicted on a new case in 2009 and soon distanced himself from the organization. There was Raymond Huero Campa, who I believe was somehow related to Tony. He may have been his brother. I showed that he was documented as being West Familia in the 1990s under K number 7430. And I believe was also mentioned in Boxer Mendoza's book. There was George Campo with an O, not an A. He was out of San Juan and was an NF member in the mid-70s under B number 51818. He was born in 1935, so I'm pretty sure is now deceased. There's Frank Spanky Campos out of Salas. I understand that he was in charge of the Salinas area for the California NF faction, but was killed with his wife not too long ago. The suspects are believed to have supported the federal faction. There was a Julio Shorty Campos Bernice out of Salas. I showed that he was a Northern Structure Cat 2 in the 1990s under C number 54451. He was convicted of attempted 187 in 1984 and returned to prison. He then paroled in 1991, but then got a drive-by murder conviction in 95. He was at Pleasant Valley State Prison in 2012, and I show is currently in Mule Creek State Prison, which to me tells me he's most likely now a dropout. I show a Jeffrey Candelario, who was known as Tiny, but my understanding is this guy was really tall. Definitely not tiny. Let me know if you ever heard of this guy. I understand he was out of San Fran and was convicted of burglary in the late 80s and given D number 56158. He then paroled in 1988, was popped on a dope charge in 91, and did some time in the San Francisco County Jail. He got popped again for dope in 93 and given J number 46124. He got popped at CMF in Vacaville for a shank in 1995. Understand got out, but then came back in 1999 under a K number 56948. And I show is currently not in custody. There's a Jose Canela Barajas. I'm not sure what barrio he is from, but I know he had a BOP number of 99587-111 and had some ties to NF shot caller Skip Villanueva. I showed that he was a Pollock in 2007, where quite a few NF and NSOs were housed, but was released in 2008. There was Leonel Big Red Cano. Understand that he was the individual who slashed the neck of Gabe Coronado from Fresno, who I'll talk about later on here Under the Seas at the Santa Clara County Jail on March 23rd, 1991. I recall this guy at Sea Facility New Folsom in the early 90s as being Nuestra Familia. I'm not sure if he was validated yet at that time, but it was obvious to me he was helping run things there with guys like Louis Roche. I showed that he was housed at Pelican Bay SHU by 1994 and was definitely pegged as NF by that time. Understand that Big Red Cano later on got into trouble with the Canales and I show paroled in 2010. I'm not sure what happened to him after that. There was Manuel Green Eyes Contreras Ledesma. I show he was NF in the mid-1970s under B number 73503. He was housed at DVI in 1974 and was housed at CMF Vacaville in 1983 under C number 75332. I showed that he got out on that one, but returned on a robbery charge in 1990 under E number as in Edward 72282, but was eventually released on that number, and I'm unsure what happened to him after that. There was Hector Bandit Cantu out of San Ho. I show that he was Nuestra Raza in the mid-90s and validated as such by 1996. He paroled in April 1997 and validated as such under J number 16472. He then paroled in 1997 and was housed at Santa Clara County Jail in 1998. Understand that he came back to the Sierra Conservation Center on a violation in 2004 and got out on that, but came back on the V numbers in Victor 49469, and I believe has been out of custody for quite a while now. There is Javier Caraballo, known as Farmero, also known as Buck. I recall this guy from Sea Facility in 1991 at New Folsom under E numbers in Edward 53219. He paroled in 1996 and I believe DO'd in the late 1990s, and I show was off parole by the year 2000. There's Gabriel Caracheo, also known as G-Money. This guy was a big dope dealer from Salas. I show he was convicted of a drive-by shooting in 1995 and did time at the Monterey County Jail, where he was suspected to be a Nuestra Raza associate. He then came back on a parole violation in 96 under K number 39868. He then was released by 2001 and started hauling in a lot of feria on the calles. He got popped for marijuana sales in 2001 and given T number 31022. And after being active for almost 10 years, was finally validated as being an insole in 2002. He got a parole violation in 2006 and was housed at San Quentin, and then was popped on Operation Valley Star, whereby he was sent to the feds under BOP number 17173-097. And I show is currently housed at USP McCreary. He is scheduled for release in June 2027. There was Raul Negro Cardenas out of Tulare County. I remember this guy from Sea Facility also, where we had a lot of Norteños, and he had D number 95655. I obviously knew that he was Northern Structure, but I'm not sure if he was validated yet at that time. I showed that he was later on housed at Pelican Bay SHU in 2012 and is currently not in custody. There was Adam Bandit Harris out of San Ho. I showed that he was Northern Structure in the late 1980s under D number 3725. Understand that he was involved in the 187 of an individual named Pablo Farfan on September 27th, 1993. And I believe that Bandit was mentioned in the RICO case in 92, but did no federal BOP time. I show that he was housed at Soledad in 2011, but is currently not in custody. There's Arturo Spider Carmona Olivas. I show this guy was actually born in Mexico. I believe he was housed at Soledad in 1985 and at Vacaville in 1987 under D number 3743. I believe he was finally validated by 1991 as being NF. Ended up getting popped by the feds under BOP number 51862-198. But I show was released from custody in July 2003 and I believe was deported. There was Marty Carrion out of Dinuba. He was convicted of possession of stolen property in 1989 and given E number 16200. Understand that he got out and was popped on the Berg and returned to custody in 1998. I show that he was paroled but caught several parole violations after that, and then came back under F numbers in Frank 97827, whereby I believe he was housed at Pelican Bay SHU in 2012, but I show is currently not in custody. There's Rafael Joker Cacique Diaz out of the Dakota Fremont area. I show that he got assault with a deadly weapon charge in 1992, whereby he was assigned H number 59975. He ended up paroling on that, but caught several parole violations in the 1990s. Understand that in the year 2004, he caught a 187 and was given F number as in Frank. 26742. And I showed that he was housed at Pelican Bay SHU in 2012 and is currently housed at Folsom Prison. There was Dakota Casperson out of Castroville. Understand that he was a dope dealer and did CDC time under V number as in Victor 94703. He then got popped by the feds and given BOP number 13381-111. I show that he was given 18 years and was housed in McCreary in 2013, but was just recently released from the BOP in October 2023. There was Kenneth Casey Cassie out of Sacramento. This guy was known as being a big dope dealer and also was a shot caller, considered to be an NF lieutenant at DVI in the late 70s, under B number 81891. He was well known in NF circles and seen in several pictures, as shown here. Understand that he was indicted on the RICO case in 1982 and dropped out and went to the WITSEC program. I show an old NF member by the name of Armando Castaneda, who was out of Merced. He had B number 72785, and prior to joining the NF, had ties to Wenatchee, Washington in the early 1970s. So there you go. Also, when he paroled on that B number, he was seen again in the Wenatchee area in central Washington, located north above Yakima, Washington. Wenatchee is known as a Sureño area, but occasionally there are some Norteños also in Chelan County. I show that he came back to custody on H number 44491, was released on that, and came back into custody after he was convicted of a burglary in 2003 under V number 7507. And I show that he was out of custody and off parole by 2011. There was Marcus Robert Castaneda, a.k.a. Tarzan, who was out of Pomona 12th Street, as proven by these tattoos seen here. Today, Pomona is run by the MA, in particular, Big Mike Lerma out of P12. But as I said in the NF Constitution video, when they first started, all the originals in the NF were out of Southern California. So it was not uncommon at all to see Nuestra Familia members from Southern Cali. Tarzan was present during the SHU War, and I understand was rewarded for his work during that skirmish by being made at Carona, as seen in this picture here, where he is smiling and standing next to Juan Lips Valdez, who was the padre at that time, or the number one guy. He continued to get into it with the MA, and on July 22nd, 1972, he was stabbed by MA members Ralph Big Mata and other MA members, as seen here. Tarzan was known as being somewhat of a J-Cat. He loved Chiva, he loved heroin, and thus would do a lot of bank robberies to support his habit. Eventually, he was popped and convicted by the feds and given BOP number 96526-012. He was validated as being NF in the feds by 1980, but then was forgotten about. The BOP actually considered him to be a dropout because there was hardly any NF at all in the federal system, unlike the Mexican Mafia, who was very active throughout the 1980s and 1990s. Finally, the BOP caught on that he was communicating with multiple NF as well as soldados, and he was moved to Coleman facility in 2013. He was housed at Lewisburg in 2014 and died in custody in November 2020 and given full honors, as seen here, by NF, NSOLs, and Norteños. There was Pablo Castaneda, who was a well-known Nuestra Raza member and was validated as such by 1994. He did YA time in 1984 when the Nuestra Raza was just taking off, and at one time was considered to be one of their main ambassadors. He got popped on a dope charge in 1990, whereby he was given E number as an Edward 67439. Paroled in 1991, but then caught a voluntary manslaughter charge in 1993. He paroled on that, but got multiple parole violations and was usually housed at San Quentin. My understanding is that he was pulling some robberies in 2005 and was shot during one of those robberies in March of 2005. And was given G number, as in George, 28767. I show that he was housed in Lancaster in 2012, and by that time had long been considered a dropout. His brother, Salvador Littleman Castaneda, was told to kill his brother and refused to do so. Littleman was considered to be a maestro, or Cat 2, northern structure. He was housed at the Monterey County Jail in 1990 and had close ties to Miquel Castillo. Understand, because he refused to kill his brother, he was ordered killed by Tex Hernandez. This was carried out by the NF on March 6, 1997. where he was given 2 shots to the face. There's a lot more I can say about those Castaneda brothers, but time does not allow. If you want to know a more detailed account, you can check out Julie Reynolds' book, Blood in the Fields, which is a good account of NF activities, especially in the Salinas area. There was William Night Owl Castaneda out of the Fremont district. I show that he did YA time in 1991 on a dope conviction and remained very active in the northern structure throughout the 1990s. I show that he was housed at San Quentin in 2001 on T number 12643. He then was popped by the feds and given BOP number 95635-011. Understand he was involved in a riot at Victorville in 2004 and was released in June 2008. Anthony Chanate Castillo out of San Juan. I show that he was a Northern Structure Maestro, or Cat 2, in 1990, under C number 81364. I show that he was housed at San Quentin in 1997, and I believe at the California Training Facility in 1999, and I believe remained in good standing until 1999. There is Frank Pancho Castillo out of Kings County. I show that he was Nuestra Raza in 1997, about the time they were disbanded, but was not validated until 2003 as being an NSOL, under J number 55203. I believe he was popped Sean Bubbles Camaron in 1997 for an arson. He's involved in an Avenal riot in 1997, and then got out and given several parole violations, where he often did his time at Wasco State Prison Reception Center. And I'm unsure what happened to him. There's Fred Charles, a.k.a. Charlie, a.k.a. Mosca Castillo, out of Stockton. He was an NF member in the early 1970s and housed at Folsom in February 1972. He then was transferred down to CIM in March of 1972 and was killed in April of that year by AB member Fred Mendrin in Palm Hall, supposedly on orders of Nico Velasquez. There was Michael Eugene Castillo, a.k.a. MC, a.k.a. Mikio, out of Salas. He was a long-time respected NF member since the 1970s, under B number 56499. He was validated as such in 1979 and was considered to be a captain during the 1980s. He was housed at San Quentin in the 1990s, where he was released and returned several times on parole violations. Understand that he refused to hit his old cellie, Brown Bob Villamontes, and there was also a feud over his turf in Salinas when he got out by individuals like Rico Smiley Garcia. And he was killed by the NF in August 1998 by Smiley. I remember when this occurred because a lot of people were upset. MC had put in a lot of work and was well respected, and they didn't believe he had that coming. And then when the Brown Bob hit went down about 8 months later, a lot of guys dropped out of the NF as they felt there's way too much greed at the top and guys being hit for no good reason. There's a lot more details on both those hits in my book, The History of the Nuestra Familia. And so I'm going to stop right there, but don't worry, I'll be back soon covering Nuestra Familia members over the past approximate 6 decades. For now, this is Gabe Morales signing off. Gangsters, cops, and politicians. If I go forward, follow me. If I hesitate, push me. If they may kill me, avenge me. If I am a traitor, kill me.